Do you fix it or do you flip it? You may be confused by the question. I mean, isn't fixing it part of flipping it? Well, there's more to it than terminology, but we'll get into that part too. In this video, you're going to discover the real options you have when you find that great deal that you want to turn into money and how to maximize your returns with a lot less time and headache. I'm Brian Bush with Freedom Mentor, and for nearly 20 years, our organization has coached and mentored many of America's most successful real estate investors. We've been a part of thousands of house flips, and we're going to share some of that wisdom with you today. If you have any questions throughout this video, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 or comment below. When you ask most people about flipping a house, they default to buying it, fixing it up, and then selling it to recover their investment and hopefully make a profit. And you've surely seen your share of TV examples of how much drama comes with the process. But isn't that just part of the business? A requirement that you have to suffer through to make some cash? It actually doesn't have to be. So let's compare the options you really have in house flipping. We've already talked about the traditional investor model where the only way to add value is in rehabbing the property. You take the run-down, beat-up eyesore and spend months and tens of thousands of dollars babysitting contractors and managing ongoing problems until you're begging for the pain to be over. But again, the focus is on rehabbing because that's where you add value. Note, you're typically finding these properties either competing at an auction where you need a lot of available cash and stomach for risk, through bird dogs or driving for dollars and putting in a lot of detective time, or through an agent on MLS where you're also competing with other investors and therefore paying more, which only narrows your margins. That said, this is a tested model and some investors are able to make money flipping if they've drilled down on the expensive lessons and finally built the right team and resources. Others are holding since they have a lot less room, but it's a part-time retirement strategy and they're making it work. The downside is all the money and credit tied up, the grueling nights and weekends, and the endless grind that has you missing your family and the rest of your life that will hopefully be worthwhile when retirement finally comes if you have enough gas left to enjoy it. But let's shift our focus to the creative real estate model to understand how it's different and how it can be superior. I'd say the biggest difference is that instead of focusing on rehabbing for value add to generate profit, so much more depends on finding great deals and buying right. You see, when you buy right due to a seller's motivation, you can structure deals to allow you room to resell without doing any renovation to the property and still realize a profit. That means a faster deal with less risk and a lot less headaches. It can also mean less of your cash out of pocket and none of your credit tied up. Creative finance strategies like subject to and owner financing allow you to leverage the seller's financing and equity, which positions you to accomplish so much more without all the risk. Now, that doesn't mean that doing some fix-up work is never involved, but we only do so when it really makes sense. We're not dependent on it to be profitable. That makes all the difference, and it's just a better way to do business. The hard part here is finding the deals, but that's what we specialize in at Freedom Mentor. We train our apprentices on how to have these off-market deals coming to them directly, and we specialize in finding creative solutions for each seller's specific dilemma. We create a win-win solution. We can only do a deal if it's a win for our seller, but it also has to be a win for us. Otherwise, we have to refer it to a friendly agent. Now, what if you have the bug? You really want to rehab. Maybe that's your passion. Well, this is where we're going to prehab and analyze the deal to understand all the repairs required, all the cosmetics needed or possible. We're comparing numbers to see what the risk will be in comparison to the potential reward. 9 times out of 10, the quick nickel beats the slow dime. We have a great video that really explores this topic, hidden costs of home renovation.
Got questions? Simply text the word FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 and we'll help you.
Look, we work with our apprentices to maximize profits since we're splitting those. So we definitely want them to make as much as possible. But the wisdom to be gained is in comparing the time it will take you to make that slow dime along with all the risk and headaches and how many quick nickels you could generate in the same time frame. Is it 2 or 3 or maybe 4? If you can even make the same money, much less double the profit with less of your cash time and management involved, it's just the wiser approach. There is a better way to approach house flipping. But the proof is in the numbers. So we've touched on what traditional house flips look like, where you purchase with cash or funding and then take on a big rehab to add value and hope to generate a profit after recovering your purchase and repair costs. Now, we often utilize creative methods to reduce risks and costs, but does that always make a rehab more worthwhile? Well, let's look at a few deals to quiz you and see if you would fix it or flip it. Deal 1. This investor had a deal under contract for $458,000 on terms, $8,000 cash at close, $299 subject to, and $151 in seller financing. It was livable, and the as-is value was estimated at $525. Selling as is for the quick nickel would likely net around $25,000, but the ARV comps were at $635 after an estimated $50,000 in work. So the slow dime could be above $75,000 and was very tempting. The $50,000 in work needed was just about $5,000 for a roof repair, but otherwise all cosmetic updates, and it could be completed in about 5 weeks. So would you go for it? Let me know in the comments. For deal 1, do you go for the quick 25 or the slow 75? Well, the investor went for the $75,000, but that 5 weeks turned into 8, and the rehab costs blew up into over $100,000. The property was finally listed at $635, but the higher price point and a few less than desirable pieces of the layout resulted in sitting nearly 2 months on the market before a buyer was locked in at $625, and it eventually closed 6 weeks later. All the additional costs and time, rehab, and headaches, final net profit was only $22,000. So even with creative terms and the savings on the cost of money, the unknowns when you take on a large rehab project can cost you dearly. The quick nickel would have been the wiser course and saved not only time and money, but a lot of headaches. So what does a better way look like? Well, next up, deal 2. Our apprentice had a property that needed $40,000 in rehab to sell for $250, and the best cash offer he could negotiate was at $145. He figured the as-is around $175. He was limited on access and due to seller constraints needed to close in a narrow window. He was able to secure hard money and close. So the quick nickel at that point looked like it would be just over $20,000, whereas the slow dime could be over $50,000. So which would you go for? Let me know in the comments. For deal 2, do you go for the quick 20 or the slow 50? Well, our apprentice wisely went for the quick nickel after cleaning up the property and in less than 30 days netted over $22,000 in profits. Wise move. Now let's look at deal 3. This apprentice had a property under contract for $152,000 on terms, $6,000 cash at close, and $146 subject to. It was livable, and the as-is value was estimated at around $175,000. However, with about $10,000 in cleanup, flooring, and minor repairs, it may well bring $200,000 or more. And another option was holding longer term since it was subject to, but that would require most of the $10,000 in rehab. So the quick nickel might make around $12,000, while the slow dime may be closer to $25,000 or more. So which would you go for? Let me know in the comments. For deal 3, do you go for the quick 12 or the slow 25? Well, our apprentice liked the potential to make more with only $10,000 in renovations, especially since a longer terms deal could also create cash flow. However, at the closing table, they also had to cover a couple thousand in liens, but decided it was still worthwhile. So they completed the work and first listed it on MLS. They were at $200,000 and ended up in a multiple offer that pushed it up to $215 and ended up netting them just over $33,000 in profit. That's a solid return for a deal flipped in just a couple months.
Every successful real estate investor has a mentor. Get mentored by me and my team by applying to be my next apprentice. Click the top corner.
Finally, let's look at deal 4. This apprentice had a property under contract for $82,000 that needed around $80,000 in rehab to resell for $250, but depending on the rehab work done, could go for up to $300. With the amount of work needed, the as-is might bring $120, but could be more with the property's potential. That means the quick nickel may bring over $30,000, but the slow dime could be double that at nearly $60,000 or even more, again, depending on the rehab. So what would you do? Let me know in the comments. For deal 4, do you go for the quick 30 or the slow 60 or more? Well, our apprentice was able to market and create a multiple offer and ended up selling it as is for $150, which netted over $64,000 in profit while being out of pocket a mere $374. And that's because he has the coaching and support to navigate all the options available to maximize his returns while minimizing his risk, and it paid off big. So how did you do on our quiz? Are you focusing your efforts in the right place to add value? If it's only on the rehab, you may be doing the wrong deals. As you can see, there are quite a lot of variables to take into account and master as you learn how to navigate successful and profitable deals. Sometimes that will involve taking on some light rehab to fix it, but that's rarely going to be a major rehab. It's typically the last thing you want to do. You want to flip it. Now, before we move on, let's address a major piece that you may be thinking about. Whether you fix it or flip it, isn't the real missing piece here the funding? We have investors that come to us that are convinced that the real problem is funding. They know how to rehab, they can find the deals, they just need the right lenders and they'll make a fortune. But what they don't want to come to terms with is often the bigger root problem that's keeping them from getting funding. They don't have a good deal. Check out this video on why you're failing to get funding for your house flip to learn more. Money is not what's keeping you from flipping properties. It's finding good deals that you don't have to rehab to make money on. And that will be our last point on the deals we looked at. Hopefully you saw what each one had in common. They would make money without rehab. Too many investors get stuck thinking they have to transform every property to make a lot of money. You want to learn how to find the right deals, prehab, and evaluate the options you have to monetize the deal. And when you're comparing the quick nickel to the slow dime, consider your time and capital, your energy and well-being. The vast majority of the time, that will mean flip it as is. Don't get caught in the rehab trap. Phil has a great video you should study that drives this home. The biggest mistake in fix and flip houses. But as you also saw from our examples, there are times when some fixing is worthwhile. Ideally, it's when you can get a big return on any money you put in. And finding that sweet spot can be tricky. We've spent decades mastering that, and it allows our apprentices to maximize their profits as efficiently as possible. So let's be clear, flipping properties is not one size fits all. This business may be simple, but it isn't easy. You can waste a lot of time, lose money, or even end up in a legal mess if you don't know what you're doing. If you're early on in this business, make sure you master finding good deals, doing the right diligence to be clear on the optimal exit strategy, and learning how to flip fast with the right strategies and methods that are in compliance with your state and local laws and MLS requirements. Let someone else take on the rehab headaches because they all think they can get it fixed easy, but they can't. There are always unexpected problems. You want to flip it. Well, hopefully we've given you more to consider and helped you see the options that do exist when it comes to flipping real estate. You don't have to take on big, expensive, migraine-inducing rehabs to add value and generate big profits. We see the biggest and most consistent returns when you simply clean it and flip it. It should be rare that you take on much more than minor repairs and some quick cosmetics. You want to be in and out fast and flip it. Take it from us and our experiences in flipping thousands of properties all across North America. The quick nickel beats the slow dime. You will reap far greater benefits flipping it than fixing it. At Freedom Mentor, we turn our apprentices into world-class house flipping machines. If you're looking for a better way to consistently generate profits that can transform your life, apply to our apprentice program, where our team will mentor, coach, and guide you to financial success. There's a link in the description and at the top. Again, if you have any questions for us, text FREEDOM to 305-315-8030 or comment below. And if you haven't read it, get your free copy of the best-selling book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor. I'm Brian Bush with FreedomMentor.com. If you gain more real estate wisdom through this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know below how we can help you achieve freedom.